Agora, vamos sair da Rússia diretamente para a Espanha, porque o nosso próximo palestrante, né, ele vem de Madrid. Ele trabalha na Mozilla como Developer Advocate. E ele vai falar, cara, ele é um dos caras que desenvolveu aquela plataforma de realidade virtual online da Mozilla. E é sobre isso que ele vai falar. Eu quero pedir uma salva de palmas para Salva de la Puente. Tem que ser nesse tom, né? Mais, gente. Pô, o cara veio de Madrid para falar com vocês querem um aplausinho, pô.
Hello, BrazilJS. My name is Salvador de la Puente. I work for, well, why not? Yes, I think it's the first time I talk in front of so many people. I want to thank you, BrazilJS, for inviting me and talk about this exciting technology, which is A-Frame. And this is a kind introduction of A-Frame, which is a framework for building VR experiences, and not only VR experiences, but also augmented reality experiences or 3D scenes by using only HTML. Well, I work for Mozilla. I'm part of the developer outreach team, and my job is to advocate the open web in general, and in particular to talk about WebVR and what are the possibilities that this new technology is enabling for the web platform. If you want to take a look at the slides while I'm presenting, you have the URL of this presentation there. I think they are not totally updated because I was adding some slides in the last moment, but they will be after this talk. Let's talk a little bit about what is virtual reality and what it represents when it is distributed on the web. Oh, sorry, spoiler. Well, virtual reality is a new media. What does it mean? It means that it's a new way of communicating things. Some people think that virtual reality is not only a new media, it is the ultimate media, because all other media ever created or yet to be created can be reproduced or can be simulated inside virtual reality. If you think about something in the future, or if you ever read a traditional newspaper, you can recreate it inside virtual reality. You can invent new ways of communication inside virtual reality. And virtual reality is about presence. And presence is that feeling of being there, of being in another place. That is presence. For any media, for any medium to be success, and in particular WebVR, in particular virtual reality, we need technology and we need content. And content requires some way of distribute this content, but most importantly, it requires authoring. It requires you, developers, or artists, or people willing to innovate. They require authors. Content has been proved not to be realistic, to be compelling. You know, you can rely on cartoons or unrealistic ways of representing reality, and it still works. But content should introduce new ways of interaction, present-focused ways of interaction, kind of and meaningful interaction. It's not about to be able to stand in front of a high-resolution depiction of a monument. It's a matter of being able to interact with that model, you know? It's about what can I do with my body inside this new virtual reality. And what does it mean to have a meaningful interaction? I don't know. And I don't know because this is so new that almost anybody knows. And we need to experiment. We need to create new kind of interaction, new kind of user interfaces, and test them. And to test them, we need to cover as much users as possible. And for that, we need an efficient and big distribution platform. And what is that distribution platform? The web is that efficient distribution platform. The web is already there. It's open. It's not gate-kept by anyone. It's not owned. You don't need previous approval to put your content there. You don't need to accept any policy, and you will not be censored. You are totally free to experiment, and you will reach millions of users. The other day, we did a workshop, as Vlad just said, on A-Frame. And it was funny because we had this Vive installation we have in our booth just behind us, in the Mozilla booth. And to test the experiences that other people was creating during the workshop, the only thing we need was to share a URL, nothing more. We didn't need to install anything, to pack any kind of application, you know. We only need to ask for, hey, what is the URL Glitch just gave you? Okay, it's this. And that's all. All the demos you will see in our booth are running in the web. They are no more than URLs. It's not like Daydream. It's not like Gear, where you have an application market for VR experiences. No, it's just the web. The web also forces you to be open-minded of a lot of different experiences. I want you to show you this video. It's made by Arturo Paracuellos, and it shows how progressive enhancement will work inside the VR world. See, in the web, you don't know actually what will be your audience. You don't know if your audience will see will experience your VR application in a phone, in a desktop, or in this full-fledged, you know, advanced device like Daydream, Gear, or even room scales devices. So you are forced to discover new ways of interaction that leverage the feeling of being there, this presence. WebVR. WebVR is the technology that allows the browser to access the hardware, this new hardware, the VR headset and the tracked controllers, and present 3D scenes inside these new displays. WebVR was started by Mozilla. It was first a hack on the full screen API, but now is isolated. It has its own community group working on that, and the current version is WebVR 1.1. And last but not least, we should talk about the author. The author is the main part of all this puzzle. You know, the author is the most important part of this puzzle. And before A-Frame, we have pure HTML and CSS, And those technologies were really great to translate traditional layouts into 2D layouts. That's something that HTML and CSS did really great. And not only, I don't know if you remember the first web page you did, but for me it was like open a notepad in Windows, copy and paste some tags. It was totally alien for me by that time. And then save, open with a browser, and voila, it was done. And I would not have called myself a programmer by that time, because, and that is one of the best parts of the web, HTML and CSS are so easy, present a low barrier to entry, and they are there for everybody. They are not only, the web is not only for programmers, it's for everybody, because technologies like HTML and CSS are friendly, are accessible, and at the same time are very powerful. And you can build, these static site generators. You can build really compelling websites with only HTML and CSS. They are great to convert these kind of things into these other things, but they fail. They fail by design because they were not designed to deal with 3D scenes and body-based interaction. So they fail when trying to create more advanced representations of reality. The problem is that as soon as you want to create some kind of 3D model or 3D scene and to interact with them, you ended using JavaScript. And JavaScript is not an unfriendly language, but it is any of these APIs you need to create 3D graphics, positional audio, interaction, taking care of orientation, the geoposition, and this kind of enhanced interactions. They are complex. They are very powerful, but they are complex. And they introduce a very high barrier to entry. Just look at this video. It shows hundreds of lines dealing with the WebVR API. And this is the boilerplate to create a very simple scene. And it is hundreds of lines. So it is not trivial, even for the technical author, to create something really basic. Fortunately, Mozilla is proud to support A-Frame. What is A-Frame? A-Frame is a framework for building 3D, VR, and augmented reality experiences. And it drastically reduced the boilerplate. Sorry, it drastically reduced the boilerplate to this. This is all the HTML you need to know to start creating virtual reality experiences on the web with A-Frame. This code is 7 lines of HTML code, and it's all the code you need to create a 360 picture viewer. Let me make some zoom. The only thing I'm doing here is including the A-Frame library, and then loading an image asset, the panorama, and saying, create a sky and use as a texture this panorama. And the result of this is this. A 360 viewer in 7 lines of HTML code. And what if you want to experiment in VR? Just click on the bottom right icon and you will enter VR mode. A-Frame uses custom elements to extend the HTML vocabulary. You know, with custom elements, you can register new tags, and you can control how changing the attributes affect these new tags. A-Frame also leverages HTML. How? By reusing all the knowledge you already have about HTML. It does in two ways. The first way is that it maps a scene hierarchy to tag nesting. Tag nesting is a very HTML concept, you know. Almost everybody knows what does it mean. But in a scene management, in 3D scene management, we use this hierarchy to easily place entities. In this case, I call this effect the Firefox tail because, well, you see in a moment. But you see how each entity is identical to the former one, to their parent, except for the color. Let me show you. You see? All the boxes are slightly to the right. They are rotated in X and Y the same amount of degrees. The color changes, but they are all scaled the same amount. They are all 65% of their original size. And with this code, and nesting one inside another, the result is this. You see? They are placed slightly on the right of the previous node. And to manipulate this scene, I'm attaching an animation tag inside each of the cubes by using only DOM APIs, regular DOM APIs. So here, I'm creating this animation tag in the same way you create your regular other tags, you know, a paragraph, an image, whatever. I'm setting some attributes. I say I'm going to animate the rotation property to this tuple with a duration of 5 seconds, linear easing, and repeating indefinite. And then I'm going to pass through all the boxes and creating a clone of the animation and attach it inside. And just by manipulating DOM with regular DOM APIs, I have this. Oh. But A-Frame, the real potential of A-Frame is not based on this, I don't know how to say, on this preset, you know, because not all the things are boxes, cylinders, and, you know, this kind of basic primitives. No. When you want to create more compelling experiences, you start to need high-resolution models. You start to need lights, scenarios, different things, and you can achieve these advanced models by using the entity component system pattern. This is an entity, a special tag that is named a entity. And the attributes actually are components. Components can have no data, one value, or multiple value. And they reflect aspects. And these aspects are coordinated by systems. For instance, you can have an entity and make it behave physically by adding the dynamic body attribute to any entity. Not only the A entity, not only the A entity tag, but to any entity. For instance, a box, a sphere, hands, control hands, whatever. This is how the component entity system works. This is an entity, and it expresses a lot of different components like geometry, material, light, sounds, physics, and so on. Behind the scenes, A-Frame uses Three.js, the same library that is one of the favorite libraries of Vlad, and it uses it to represent the 3D scene by exposing the API, which is very well designed, in a declarative way. So this declarative syntax lowers the barrier. So in the end, you have the same powerful interface that you have in Three.js, but express it in a much more easier way. Showcase. Well, this is A-Blast. A-Blast is a like game, it's a game-like application, and all of these demos can be tried in our booth. Okay, so actually this is the default, and probably they will be playing right now there. And well, this is a game-like application. It's very compelling because the feeling of actually holding two guns is very realistic. This is a painter. Do you know Tilt Brush? It's an application from Google to create to paint in 3D. But this is a painter, which does the same but in the web. So you don't need to install anything. You only need a Vibe setup, and then you can start painting 3D by entering in a website. Nothing more. Well, it's not working very well. I like this part of the video because it is easy to see how the glasses of the folks are actually in front of the face. Oh. I strongly recommend you to try in the booth. And finally, this is one of my favorite. I think it is more funny if it is funnier if you see the real world first. Oh, this should be, well, sound is not working. Oh, it's working now. We did this, and what you see inside the goggles is this. You know what is very tired to do while developing VR scenes? To debug VR scenes. Because you know, I created an experience that consisted into emulating losing a soldering to separate a chip from a circuit board, you know? And it was like doing, okay, I'm going to take the hotter gun and kind of a suction pad, and now I'm going to lose the soldering, and then something doesn't work. Something doesn't work. So you do the same movements again, and then something else fails, and you do the same movements again, and again, and again, and again, and you get tired. You get physically tired, you know? So with this with this demo, we created a couple of components that allow you to capture your movements and record them. So I was able to record my movements and then test them automatically without needing to repeat my physical movements, my physical interactions all the time. This is Samsung Bubble, which is the same idea I presented you with the 360 image viewer, but it is also a progressive web app. So WebVR experience should not exist in isolation. We can apply the same techniques we already know about the web and create real applications based on virtual reality interactions. I strongly recommend you to take a look at this series. You can find new projects every week. It's amazing. This is a week of A-Frame 75. So that means we have had 75 weeks of new projects, new technologies, new achievements. And if you take a look at the number of tweets talking about different things each week, it's amazing. We have a lot of things. Do you remember when I say that the web was not only for programmers? There is a tweet, I don't know why, I don't know where, sorry. But there is a tweet that says something like, I'm not a programmer, but A-Frame, this one, not a coder, but 3D.io, which is based on A-Frame, lets me to do this. And it is a 3D depiction of a flat. And this is what I was trying to explain, that the web is not only for web authors, it's also for any kind of author. And this kind of declarative technologies, this kind of initiatives tries to precisely lower the barrier of entry in order for inviting more people to develop their experiments, to make their prototypes, and to test among millions of users thanks to the web. Now I'm going to talk about one of my favorite features of A-Frame. I'm going to do somehow some kind of living code, but it is not code. Hopefully, it won't break. So I'm going to drop this micro and use this other one. Hello? Okay. Okay. So the scene inspector. The inspector allows the developer to see behind the scenes, you know, and to see and to change the attributes of every entity and look at the changes in real time. For instance, consider this scene. This scene is something I modeled following a tutorial from I don't remember, but it was about creating this famous strange scene of Star Wars in a Sketchfab. But I tried to recreate it in A-Frame. So I'm going standalone here, okay? And now I'm going to open the inspector, which is Control, Alt, and I. This is the inspector. And this allows me to see the scene and modify in real time. For instance, you see the entity tree here, a scene, an entity with the ambient light, the sun, the trench, a TIE fighter, an X-Wing, the sky with the stars, and finally the camera entity. Okay, so I'm going to, I'm going to change the source of light so you can see how the shadows dynamically respond in real time. And I can switch to the scene again, and you can see the new position of the sun, how the shadows change it. But let's add some, let's make the scene more thrilling. I'm going to duplicate this TIE fighter with another one, and I'm going to make it crash with the trench. Oh. Here it is. Gonna rotate it a little bit. Here. Boom. And add an explosion model. Do you remember when I told not everything is accomplished by putting some boxes? So I model with Magica Voxel these ships, the trench, and the explosion. Let's load the explosion. I'm going to add another entity. Call it explosion. I think I can, okay. Nice, better, I think. The explosion. And instead of adding a basic primitive, a basic geometry with a basic primitive, like a box, I'm going to add the object model component, which allow me to set a URL with the material and the geometry of the explosion. Well, it's huge. A problem of scale. Let's adjust it. Rotate it. Okay. And position in the right place. Well, that's not bad. Let's see. More dramatic. But if you want to make a space, a scene more dramatic, what you need to do is to adjust the ambient light to create some nice blue shadows. Let's do it by simply changing the color property of the light component of this entity, which is the ambient light. Well, that looks more space. And let's add to this TIE Fighter 2 or, crashed TIE Fighter, which has an object model component and a shadow component. Let's add to it a new component, which is a light component. This is the explosion light, and I'm going to make it red, orange, convert it into a point light, and allow it to cast shadows in order to restrain the effect a little bit. Much better now. And finally, let's adjust the sunlight to be a little bit more pink. Well, and do you remember that I use another tag called animation to animate the scenes? So someone actually, I think it was Kevin Go, created a component to make the animation not a tag, but a component. And this is really powerful because it allows me to do this. Instead of nesting animation primitive, I'm going to add a new component, the animation component. And now I'm going to say, well, I want to animate the light intensity from, let's say, 1 is the default value, to 3 in loop forever and alternating the direction. How cool is that? But the most interesting part is that I can actually save this, because it's all declarative. You know, this is all HTML. So I can go here, copy the entire scene, and then go to my Atom editor, create a blank document, paste all the code, save as, I don't know, a scene. Okay. And then I can see it done and compare with the original scene. This is one of my favorite features of A-Frame. And I can also inspect the code and see, for instance, look for the crashed TIE fighter, which is this, and see how it has the ID, the position component, rotation, scale, the object model, the light, and the animation components. It's all HTML, A-Frame powered HTML. And if you are a developer and you feel that it's not enough with the primitives and the components some other developers are doing, you can create yourselves. You can register new primitives. Primitives are these special tags, you know, these A box, A camera, these kind of things. And you can create also your own components and your own systems, like, for instance, creating a physical system or creating an environment. All these actually already exist. Well, if you are looking for resources and community, Vlad already introduced some of them, but I'm going to introduce some other. First, follow us on Twitter. We are a very active community, and if you mention us, you probably appear in the next a week of A-Frame. Here is the GitHub. It's also a very active repository, and if you want to learn from the very beginning, you can try A-Frame schools. Also, if you are really excited about this technology and you want to teach others, you can follow A-Frame schools. The A-Frame blog. We are working on improving the contents and trying to get more audience and trying to provide what you are asking for. So we have this, if you want to suggest new content, you can do it in this link. The A-Frame registry. All the components created by you or by third parties lies in one centralized place, which is the A-Frame registry. Now it's being populated, and it has not a lot, well, it has, I don't know, about 50 components, but there are more coming. The A-Frame Slack. And of course, you can check this slide deck on this link and the code pens also. And that's all. I think there is no time for questions, but thank you for coming to my talk.